Oh, yeah. Well, hi, it's great to be here today. I'm Bill Bodin. Great presentations from Tony, great presentation from Alon as well. So I'm here to talk to you about what IBM is doing internally for the most part. In terms of our workforce, you can see that our workforce is huge actually, 425,000 employees worldwide. We do business in more than 170 countries and with about that many service providers too for our cellular needs as well. So we're moving toward distributed teams, as you see here, matrix teams and management. A lot of flexible schedules exist in our day-to-day business. So you can imagine that the need for mobility is critical within IBM. I mean, I remember several years ago when I was working mainly from a technology focus in IBM for mobility. And I can remember every night using my mobile phone, and this was, say 4 or 5 years ago, using my mobile phone to connect with and to converse with my global resources teams in China, teams in Vietnam. I can remember doing that night in, night out, basically, even when I took, my kids to things like hockey practice at night. We do play hockey down in Austin, Texas. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we do. And now my son plays in Minnesota, so I'm becoming accustomed to all this cold weather. So in any event, we've been using mobile technology for a long time. This workplace that I talk about, the IBM workplace, comprises about 500,000 workstations. Those workstations are Windows workstations, Mac and Linux workstations, et cetera. But by and large, what we're converging on here is an incredible thrust into mobility, right? And this is not something that we started yesterday. It's something that we started maybe 15 years ago, experimenting with mobile. So you can see here that in terms of our workplace, we're really customizing our portals to My Workplace. And you'll see a little bit about what we're doing in terms of the IBM workplace within IBM. This IBM workplace that we talk about is our w3.ibm.com presence. If you're an IBMer, you have access to that. It holds critical applications that you need to close quarter-end business. It holds critical applications for personal business commitments. It holds critical applications for just getting in touch, et cetera. And that's really becoming a destination and a go-to place for our mobile efforts as well. So you'll see more about that in just a bit. In terms of our composition within the company, as you can imagine, we have folks in IBM that have been there for, say, 30 years plus, right? We have folks that have been there for 5 years, and we have folks that just joined yesterday. In fact, that's a major thrust of our growth markets, et cetera. We have many people coming online there, and they're already using mobile devices, right? So the real challenge there is how do we get these people assimilated into the IBM culture? How do we get them equipped into the mobility realm? How do we get them access, et cetera, et cetera? So we're using all of the tools that we have internally to get them up and running. It's not an easy process, as you can imagine. We're experimenting with VPN technology, micro VPN technology, our own Lotus Mobile Connect technologies, our Lotus Traveler technologies, et cetera. We're running pilot programs to assure that all of those particular components bolt together in not only a seamless way, but give us the security that we need to make sure that we protect our own enterprise data. In terms of some of the initiatives and the projects that we're doing within IBM, there's one called Workplace of the Future. And Workplace of the Future really kicked off a couple of years ago. And Workplace of the Future defines the way that our evolution is occurring. In other words, our transition from one OS to another OS on the multitude of workstations that we have out there, the laptop computers that we have out there. And also the more important, especially to this community, the more important mobile ecosystem that is becoming just an incredibly important part of the workplace of the future. You can see here that we deal with virtual technologies. We, in fact, through our user segmentation studies, we're looking at how basic styles of applications, not just your web applications versus hybrid applications versus native applications for mobile, how they roll out, but how various segmented role types within IBM will get access to different styles of applications, whether they be virtualized desktop applications over a smartphone or a tablet, or other applications. So they are all part of our user segmentation. You'll see a bit of that later as well. Social implications, connectivity implications, access to data anytime, anywhere is obviously a big focus of what we're doing here. So desktop cloud is another thing. You heard from Alon that there's significant concerns when we talk about cloud and we talk about people using external applications, of them using these external applications for housing confidential data, et cetera, right? So that's a big focus of ours, and we're taking steps within our own innovation group to create applications that are safe and secure, provide not only the technologies that other applications like voice over IP applications or like Dropbox-like functionality provide, but go even further than that, but do so within the walls of the enterprise and provide the real utility to the people that are using those applications and the corporation that relies on the security that those applications actually provide. So that's all part of workplace of the future. So a lot of this is the shift in the work paradigm, towards the mobile worker. Where do they want to work? I want to work where I want to work. I want to do what I want to do when I need to do it. So a lot of this is based on the information that they need, the connectivity types that they have, the corporate approved devices that they use, and the support that they need. Now, in terms of the corporate approved devices, right, you hear a lot about bring your own device today, right? But in IBM, it's not necessarily bring your own device, it's bring your own approved device, right? So we're not about to add devices to our corporate network that put in jeopardy the security of our corporate network, right? So there's certain fundamental things that we need to interlock with the features on that particular phone, whether it be the VPN connectivity components or the ability to determine whether that phone has been compromised in any way. There is the blending of that with the ability to attach that to the network that gives us the comfort level to add significant numbers of devices in the future. So that's what we're doing within IBM. We're maturing out and looking at various device types. We're running significant pilots, and when we run a pilot, it's not a pilot of 100 users, it's usually a pilot of about 5,000 users, right, where we determine whether or not those device types are manageable, whether those device types can be made secure, et cetera, et cetera. So we guide the participants through the process of participating in a pilot, and of course we put into play the automation which allows that pilot to be secure within its own kind of island. And in terms of support, right? Support may not always be the kind of support, especially when you're bringing on, the kinds of numbers of devices that we would like to bring on in our network. It's not always a case where the technical support for those devices would be a conventional help desk where you call a number, right? A couple of years ago, we started a project within IBM called IBM Advisor, right? And this IBM Advisor technology is basically a native application that lives on your phone, right? So it's able to tell you whether or not you have data coverage. It's able to tell you, in fact, whether or not the email server that feeds your particular device is healthy, right? So about between 7 and 10 different metrics categories, each with sub-metrics capabilities that really will tell you, what's going on with your device, what's going on with the infrastructure around it, and how do you stay connected with that device? How do you self-determine whether or not there's a particular problem with that device? And as you can imagine, that bit of logic living on your phone as a native applications basically have a lot of full reign on your phone, right? As many privileges as you want to allow. So in terms of that application, we're actually able to, if a human being has to get involved in a problem determination, we're actually able to send that information up to a help desk to make them better informed about what's going on with your particular situation. So a lot of different changes will be happening for how we deal with service and support and help desk functionalities, et cetera. Not only connectivity, but all of the other things that go with it. So as I said, our journey in terms of mobility started a long time ago. It started, in fact, I recall back in the mid-90s actually using, and writing code to support things like alphanumeric pagers, et cetera, when when we were having large groups working on evolving operating systems, et cetera, we needed to stay in touch. And one way to do that was to write logic on a server, have that server pump data out over, at that point in time, conventional modem technology to these alphanumeric pagers. And that's in the mid-90s, basically. Throughout the late 90s and the early 2000s, we ran significant pilots, mainly using BlackBerry technology, and matured that technology into a point where we could actually put together a corporate managed plan for IBM that distributed BlackBerries around the 2004 timeframe. So since 2004 to now, obviously we have a lot going on with BlackBerry technology. Now that's not to say that the BlackBerry rules, as it says here on our roadmap, is always the way it will be, right? A lot of this will be personal choice, right? So a lot of folks are looking to onboard iOS devices, Android devices in significant numbers, and et cetera. But it all started with BlackBerry. BlackBerry, in fact, if you look at the security policy procedures and how to craft those and how to deploy those in the network, still has a very, very robust handhold on that marketplace. So obviously we're exploring emerging smartphone technologies and tablet technologies. We're putting together application frameworks that support the gamut of applications within that spectrum. I think there was some talk about web applications, hybrid applications, native applications, et cetera. I would encourage you all to go out and look at what IBM's doing as the mobile technology preview out on the developer works site of IBM.com. Take a look at what we're doing there in terms of phone gap, in terms of creating functionality that can essentially abstract the differences between native platforms and allow us to make progress from a kind of a more holistic way, developing code that's common to all those platforms, maybe even in the case of a web application, wrappered by phone gap technology and wrappered into a native application. But there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and even components available from IBM that will get you integrated with all of the 17 different sensors that Alon talked about in terms of accelerometers and other basic sensors, LBS technology, et cetera. All of that being wrappered by functionality that can help you write a cross-platform application, essentially turn that into a native application that takes advantage of all those kinds of features. So our challenges are, basically to protect our assets, provide device choice, right, with qualifications, that is, devices that we can comfortably support, provide anywhere access, provide the tools and the applications that go with that, and I'll talk a little bit more about applications in just a minute, and then manage those platforms. So none of this comes without the pain of some requirements and controls that need to live on the handsets, right? So I'd be interested, I don't know, is Tony still here? Is Tony in the audience still? Tony. I don't know if you had any data in terms of the adoption of personal devices onto the enterprise backbone in light of any kind of secure filter, that security filter that needs to be applied to that. In other words, when people are faced with multi-character alphanumeric passwords and things like that, are they still encouraged as much, right, to join the enterprise side with their personally liable device? I don't know if you had any data relative to that.
I think Krista mentioned some data we had on the tablet side in terms of the top two main ways people are accessing tablet applications, right, Krista?
So on the tablet side, two of the key ways that companies are looking to secure them right now in Canada are very simple, actually. One is through simply having the employee sign a policy use policy, and the second is using very simple passwords. And so the other types of things like mobile management or authentication software and things like that were much further down on the list. So at least today, it's very simple in how they're being secured. So I don't see that as being a barrier for employees to start using them and bringing them in. I don't see that being a barrier to them. It's probably because it's such early days. And I would assume that there'd be more sophisticated approaches to implementing security moving forward.
Yeah, certainly I think there will be sophisticated means for securing devices in the future, including some of the technologies coming out like BlackBerry Balance and partitioning data from an enterprise perspective, and essentially burying the enterprise experience within a personally owned phone, right? So that when you need the enterprise experience, you're challenged with that authentication layer and not unduly challenged with it before you actually need access to enterprise data. So absolutely, I see that. And in fact, our numbers, informal polling numbers, indicate within IBM that 90% of the people are either highly enthusiastic or at least enthusiastic about getting enterprise access on their personally owned devices, even though it might come with a small price, at least initially, right? So, passwords, control timeouts, Bluetooth turned to non-discoverable, et cetera, just some of the things that we deal with and some of the things that we mandate within our own corporate policy areas. A couple of different plays here. An employee-owned mobile device is play one. Essentially we're providing secure access to email, calendar, and contacts within IBM in terms of pilot groups, pilot VPN access. So we have both access through our Lotus Traveler technology and access through a full VPN pilot, right? So many thousands of people actually participate in that today, as well as a mobile app store. And the mobile app store really came about in late 2009 as a concept, right? So what we're doing with the mobile app store is we've actually taken that from concept design, from pilot design, and we've actually put that into production on our own w3.ibm.com site, right? So our own IBM Workplace is a site now for a mobile app store that currently supports about 35,000 people and will go up dramatically as we add numbers to that population. So mobile as primary device play number two would be that some segments of the IBM community would have a mobile device as a primary device, not necessarily a laptop device, right? But a tablet device that would replace that. So that's where we're doing our segmentation work, and that's where we're determining where those numbers exist. We're taking an approach where we're identifying personas within IBM, personas that will help us segment the way that we distribute functionality to users. So this segmentation approach is really taking an approach where we're determining whether or not a particular user community will be the target for virtualized applications on laptop or tablet PCs, et cetera, or whether or not a specific group will have a mobile device as a complementary device or a primary device. And you can see here it really moves us away from the notion of one size fits all. It's no longer one size fits all. It's a case where some customer-facing IBMers will be tablet targets, right? They'll have tablet types of devices that they're able to quickly connect with a customer, quickly engage, and get the kind of functionality that they need. For other, it will never be the case where everybody within an ecosystem like IBM can move toward a tablet or a smartphone as a primary device. It'll be the case where there are heavy lifting applications, right, that won't be virtualized for quite some time, won't be available via cloud technologies for quite some time. But by and large, we're looking to take a very aggressive stance with how we position these mobile devices and how we identify through this segmentation model how we deliver this to the right populations within IBM. So there's a lot of technology elements here that we explore within IBM, everything from accessibility to mobile app management to authentication and 4G technologies. A couple of years ago, we started and ran and completed a 4G technology experiment within our Hawthorne and Yorktown facilities in New York to determine how we would do things like in-building 4G technologies, in-building WiMAX penetration, completely immersive different forms of communication within an enterprise that rolled out at that time 100 to 100 pilot users. This is a case where we had a slightly smaller pilot population, but we were looking to do 4G technology and discovery with wireless handsets, with wireless data cards, and with wireless customer premise equipment. Essentially, how we could make your Cisco IFP phone, right, wireless in and of itself, right? Not necessarily connected to the infrastructure with a wire, but something that could be really an office-in-a-box type of paradigm. So those are some studies that have gone in the past. Mobile frameworks to get mobile developers up and running very quickly, to do things like real-time device discovery, and to really segregate and abstract the difficulties of writing an application from the other difficulties and complexity of delivering that application as a high fidelity asset across a broad spectrum of devices. So that's what we're involved with from an application framework perspective. Mobile media is another facet of what we deal with within IBM. We actually have a media library that houses some 127,000 assets within IBM, and that's something that allows us to communicate, both audio media, video media, even ancillary presentations and other forms of content, through this giant repository. But finding ways of delivering that through mobile is a focus of what we've done. We've delivered that as a native BlackBerry solution actually over a year ago, and continue to work with HTML5, CSS3, and delivering that in forms of other cross-platform implementations as well to other platforms. And you can see here IBM Advisor is actually kind of highlighted here, a number of forms of different metrics. Gives you a fairly easy way to look at what the health of your device is, what the health of the infrastructure is supporting that device. It uses a traffic light metaphor, right? And that traffic light, if you're looking at a BlackBerry device, has a small 16-pixel mini icon on the screen. You can see if you have great data coverage, you can see whether or not your email is flowing to your device, et cetera, by just taking a quick look. If you suspect something's wrong, just look at the icon and it'll tell you how to dive deeper on that. So I think other things like security and how we do things like secure biometrics for, say, voice biometrics for unlocking devices, another aspect of what we're looking into in terms of making that whole access to enterprise data easier, as well as things that we do in terms of augmented reality and making even our data centers more accessible in terms of finding out where that failing server is and using a mobile device to gain access through a picture or a graphic in real time and overlay certain characteristics of those servers onto that particular display. So lots of different technologies going on within IBM in terms of the mobile ecosystem. And I thought I'd talk a bit about our own workplace portal and application reuse within the context of that portal. This is basically a screenshot of our portal in terms of our workplace, w3.ibm.com. When you log into the mobile tab, right, you get things like mobile news, mobile quick starts, you get our mobile app store as well. And you can see that mobile app store has a number of featured applications as part of it. So if we look a little closer at that, in fact, here's a shameless plug for our mobile app store. It won the CIO 100 award this year in August in terms of what it provides to the enterprise and the kinds of functionalities and features that it presents. But if you look a little closer to the user interface here, you see featured apps, you see My Whirlwind. It's called Whirlwind. It has a kind of an over-the-air metaphor that it suggests that technologies that are over the air are now funneling down, right, if you will, into the device experience. You can see here there's what we call Software Sellers Workplace mobile application. There's a mobile expertise locator, software product guide, Blue Pages. These are all part of the IBM applications that are part of our repository. We have somewhere around 100 applications in the IBM category, but we don't just support an IBM category, we also support applications that live on the outside as well. And My Whirlwind really gives you the opportunity to customize, either using your desktop, your laptop computer to reorder assets, to subscribe to assets. You just pick that up and instantly it's synchronized with your mobile device. So you can see the mobile device is rendering out a view of the mobile store, right? The mobile store comprises categories like the IBM category. It's then alphabetized below that like airlines and hotels and et cetera, but gives us a great way to socialize, a great way to measure applications, and a great way to distribute applications in terms of our own enterprise. I mentioned framework services. We use framework services, in fact, in a multitude of ways within our own product sets, et cetera. Mobile Portal Accelerator is an example. WebSphere Experience Factory is another example, but we use these mobile services in such a way that we can create applications and deliver them in such a way that they are not expensive to deliver. They are cross-platform in nature, and they really accelerate the productivity of the folks that are using them. Here's just a sampling of applications that are built upon our framework and are built generally very quickly. Whirlwind itself is built on that foundation. Product guide, software seller's workplace, mobile media library on the right-hand side, as well as other things like fundamental applications like Blue Pages. Blue Pages is being our corollary to Facebook, allowing people to search on anybody within IBM, get their single click to email, single click to call them, even a single click to add them to their address book within their native phone repository. So a lot of different functionality here. One thing that helps us deliver content within IBM seamlessly, and millions of pages of content live on IBM.com, is that we develop to a particular standard. We call this standard internally V17. Now that doesn't mean anything to you, but it means that there's a standard for developing content and that content that represents the web pages and the taxonomy of IBM.com. In that way, we were able to actually deliver a transcoder, right, that transcodes all of IBM.com now and delivers that as a consolidated experience. In fact, it shortens transactions from 125K or more than 125K to an average of about 10K, and really decreases the download time for mobile device usage. And you can see here, anybody can go out to m.ibm.com and see the results of this transcoding work that we're doing. But that's all based also on our ability to do real-time device discovery and to develop high fidelity type of experience with your mobile content. So some of the lessons learned here. We'd like, our message is that, while mobile devices are completely different than laptop computers, for us they're another turn of that technology crank. So we're embedding technology into all of our management, fundamental management products, et cetera. We're partnering with industry, obviously, for things like malware solutions and partitioning of personal data. We're looking to virtualize access to data in many different ways. And we're really, prioritizing this. And I think Tony said it last. He said it, that this is not just an option anymore. This is the way to do business. So we recognize that is the case, and obviously we're marching towards that. So, generally speaking, to get to this comprehensive mobile ecosystem, we're talking about, first and fundamentally focusing on access and security, moving through that with VPN solutions that we're taking, first of all, pilot steps to understanding them thoroughly and rolling those out to individuals in large numbers. Mobile pattern designs, mobile application frameworks, understanding how to do mobile application distribution, and then if there ever is a steady state to the mobile ecosystem, getting to the part where you have the mobile evolution and the adaptation phase, right? And all that flanked by things like mobile infrastructure, governance, standards, and all of those important components that tie all this together. So with that, I'll say thank you, and I'll take any questions that you have. Yes.
Sorry.
Pass it over.
Yeah, Bill, what size is your development team? And organizationally, is it part of the intranet development team?
There is an intranet contingent to the development team, but in IBM, I think one of my first slides I was talking about matrixed organizations, et cetera, right? So if you talk about the CIO development team, that's one thing, but the CIO development team is entirely flanked by our product development teams. We have brand showcasing that is all tied into what we do from a CIO perspective. So it's pretty difficult to figure out, what the size of any one development team is when we are already leveraging all facets of IBM. So we don't consider ourselves to be a CIO development team. We consider ourselves to be one development team, and one development team that actually leverages the technologies that the Tivoli team is creating, the technologies that the Cognos team is creating, the social collaboration technologies that Lotus is creating, software group in general, and IBM research. If you bolt those all together, it's a significant number. I'm not probably prepared to say what that number is, but it's a lot of folks working on mobility.
Okay, so the answer is big.
It is big. It is big. It is big. And when you consider that you add to that our global resources teams, and teams that are working in Brazil, teams that are working in China, Vietnam, Russia, all over the planet, on this, for better or for worse, right? For me, it's a 24-hour wraparound workday, right? Because my team in Vietnam, for instance, we have, and I'll tell you, we have more than, say, a dozen developers focused on mobile just in one Vietnam team alone, right? And that team focuses on things like the mobile app store and other elements of CIO enablement and innovation as well. But they are exactly, depending on daylight savings time, 12 hours apart from me, right? So when I'm rolling, kind of wrapping it up for the day around 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, they're coming online, and we're able to immersively communicate and instant message back and forth, and kind of get today's priorities in line so that the expected outcomes of even a day-to-day basis, exactly what's going to happen. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. I'm a bit vague on it, but it's a large team, and the team is an integrated team across IBM and is working very closely together.